Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 71 for August 22nd, 2008. The awesome release. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Audible.com. For your free audiobook, visit audible.com/Windows. And by Visa. We all have things we like to think about. Online fraud shouldn't be one of them. Because with every purchase, Visa prevents, detects, and resolves online fraud. Safe, secure, Visa. And by listeners like you. Thanks so much for your contribution. We couldn't do Twit without it. It's time for Windows Weekly. Leo Laporte here with Paul Thurrott, back from Ireland, Mr. T. How are you today?
Very good.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. The ever-dry, ever-droll Paul
We'll
Thurrott.
see you next week, then.
Goodbye, then. Thank you. So you don't have an Irish accent. I thought you might come back and say, top of the morning to you, Leo.
I had to drag my daughter kicking and screaming out of this country.
Really? Out of Ireland or out of the U.S.?
Out of Ireland.
She loved it.
But yeah, it helped that there were kids next door, so she was...
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. She also discovered that when people use the word tea in Ireland, they're referring to a plate full of food like cake and pie and so forth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so she discovered that she actually likes tea, much to her surprise.
Daddy, I like tea. Tea's really good.
The tea has nothing to do with the drink. Apparently it's sweets.
Yes, it is sweets, and there is a drink, but you don't have to touch that.
Right.
So, well, that's great. Do you feel like you're rested and relaxed and ready to come back to work here?
Yeah, and it took the better part of a week, actually, which I'm constantly annoyed by.
The time zone thing. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. You think you're going to make it happen, and it just doesn't work.
No. Well, we're missed you because all sorts of things happen in the world of Windows. It all fell apart, and boy, I'm just...
I know. This whole place went to hell in a handbasket.
Oh, I'm so glad you're back, Paul Thurrott. I'm so glad you're back. So let's first of all talk about in Ireland how you were able to get online, and how did that Windows Home Server reinstall go?
It went great.
It worked?
Yeah, it worked fine.
For those who didn't listen to the last episode, you decided remotely from Ireland to reboot your Windows Home Server.
Yeah, uninstall some add-ons and reboot it.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah.
It worked?
It worked fine. What could go wrong?
Wow, do you have a cell phone on there? Is your brother texting you Go Celtics or anything?
I don't know what that is.
That is really loud.
Yeah. Is it loud?
It's coming from you. Wow.
It happens, and I don't know why. I noticed that I put the headphones on, and it's been doing that.
It's GSM. Where's your cell phone?
It's right here.
Well, that's it, by the way.
Turn it off? It is, really?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that, huh? That's the quintessential GSM sound.
No, I will turn it off.
Yeah.
Another Apple device goes to sleep.
Oh, yeah, the iPhone is the worst. It's the noisiest
It's
one.
It's probably pulling from my email or something.
That's exactly what it's doing, yeah.
Yes. I did finally get a 3G, by the way. Well, I guess we'll get to that. Did I mention that? Was that in the notes?
It's not in Windows. That's Apple. That's Apple Weekly. We gotta, we should really get you on Mac Break Weekly sometime. You like talking about...
That's what I need. I need to get on Mac Break Weekly.
you love talking about that stuff so much.
Well, we'll talk about that. Actually, we'll talk about that.
All right, we'll talk later, offline.
No, we'll talk about it in the show. You'll see.
Oh, online.
It will come up in a way that I think listeners of this podcast will, in fact, appreciate.
Were you speaking of online? Were you able to? Obviously, you were. We were able to do Skype and everything. Do you think the internet access was actually better in Ireland, or?
Yeah, here's what I discovered. We go up to Northern Ireland, which of course is a place that a lot of Americans don't go, and hopefully that will change. And I don't mean to interrupt, but what was that crazy graphic I just saw on the screen?
Which crazy graphic? This one?
It was like a cloud or something.
Yeah, it was a little.
That's awesome. All right, so anyway, thank you for distracting.
He's easily distracted. I'm playing with the TriCaster effects.
Okay.
Don't mind me.
I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. It looked like a rain cloud or something.
This is you want to see my favorite one?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get the video back up. Okay.
It's called a Flying Fortress. And I can go backwards. So for those of you listening at home, this means nothing. But if you ever
serious problems we should discuss.
If you ever watch our live stream, Twit Live, I like to throw stuff like that in every once in a while. Just,
it's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's good.
So it is. Fall is coming, and it is time for the.
This is going to be a lot of email from people saying, "Why are you guys laughing all the time?" It's so stupid.
Because it's basically a party. When we do this show, it's a party. That's all.
I fondly remember a high school teacher who told me, "Only insane people laugh at nothing."
Well, now we know what you are. So, no. In all seriousness,
yes, sir.
Internet access in Ireland, good?
No, not where we were staying, but then we went to Northern Ireland, which of course is the sort of the boondocks, you would think. But actually, in Northern Ireland, they have British Telecom, and they have incredible wireless access in Ireland. In fact, I had a better connection in a hotel in the middle of nowhere in Northern Ireland than I have at my house. I didn't want to leave. It was beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
But it's like that in the real world too. You sometimes you have just you're lucky on one day, and it's kind of hit and miss.
Yeah, I was probably the only person in town using it that
day.
But,
exactly. Yeah.
But I have a decent connection. We have Fios here, and
you're pretty set up. You're spoiled.
I am spoiled.
Yeah,
I know.
Let's face it. That's the truth of it.
How did we go down this path? This isn't on the show note list. But...
Wait, no, I see it right here. Paul is spoiled.
Paul is spoiled. That's item 2.
Paul is spoiled. So did you bring all your little gear and toys with you? Did you?
Well, actually, yeah. So this is something I wanted to talk to you about. You travel a lot.
Yeah.
And I would assume that you have your standard, pile of junk.
Oh, I do. Yeah, and it is a pile. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to do this time was get rid of the discs and not bring a bunch of DVDs. And go all digital, have iPods for the kids on the plane so they could, watch movies in a cramped, area, not destroy my laptop if the guy in front of them, threw his seat back and all that stuff. And the funny thing is, I would say from a technology standpoint, I think we did a pretty good job. I had a good collection of stuff. We had things like a car charger where you could plug in devices to charge them while you were driving in the car. And that allowed us to, we could go out on the road and charge my son's Nintendo or something. And that stuff was nice. But the funniest thing that happened with all of this stuff, the shame of it, as it were, is that we had some friends visit us from here in Dedham, a guy that I went to high school with who'd been friends, forever. And he actually works at a technology company, but he's a database guy. So he's not really into the day-to-day tech stuff. And he's certainly not into consumer-oriented technology, but he's a Zune owner. Right.
Okay.
He's one of the 7 people that owns a Zune. So he brings his Zune to Ireland, and we want to watch some movies. And of course, we're in this house that has a widescreen TV. They have a DVD player. I didn't bring any DVDs. Not that actually that would have worked. But I don't have any cabling. I have every iPod on earth, but I have no way to connect it to the TV. But this guy brought a cable set for the Zune. So we were able to actually load stuff from the computer to the Zune, plug it into the TV, and then watch it on the big screen TV, and it worked great. And I felt like an idiot because right now, sitting here in my office, I can look over and see the exact cables I could have used.
Oh, that's a great way to do it. Now,
right.
But is the quality okay? I mean,
the quality is great. The Zune outputs at 720 by 480.
Wow, that's DVD. Yeah. That's DVD quality.
Right. So you can actually encode a movie. Not that we did this, but you could encode a movie at 720 by whatever if you wanted to. Whereas on an iPod, you're kind of restricted to 640 by whatever the resolution is. So that was a little humbling, I have to say. This guy whips out his cables, and we're all set, and I felt like a jerk, like I'm the computer guy. And not to mention the fact that, of course, he had the Microsoft thing with him, and here I am with all my Apple stuff.
Yeah, you're the Windows guy. Why don't you have a Zune, Mr. T?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I didn't bring it with me to Ireland.
Right. No, actually, that's actually... even with the iPod, you could have done that. I mean, although I don't know if
that's
the quality
what I mean.
is as good.
I have the iPod cables in my office. They were doing me no good in Ireland, I can tell you that. But that's the thing, right? So there's an example of something, if you really thought it through, even if you go on a trip to a hotel, a lot of times the TV set will have, those inputs on the front. You could bring an iPod or a Zune or whatever you wanted, as long as you had the outputs, and have why not watch it on the big screen?
Right.
Right. That's a great thing to do. And the cables weigh nothing. You throw them in your bag. They don't take up any space. So here I was. I had every stupid pitted technology on earth except the one thing that, the one thing that actually would have made a difference.
Not the one, except the one you wanted.
Yeah. So this is. I go on trips like this and I try to think about things and hopefully next time we don't make the same mistakes.
I have do you have a laptop bag that has, like holders for all that stuff and ways to organize it all and stuff? Because that's really, to me, that's key.
Yeah, sort of. I'm a bag. I hate to say it like this.
You're a bag whore. Is that what you want to say?
Yeah. And God knows the.
That really doesn't sound good.
Re-recording of this podcast will occur.
We'll leave that out of the next edition. Yeah.
I'm not. We're not going to call this episode that, by the way.
No.
I look at bags a lot, laptop bags especially, and luggage and stuff like that. It's my one weird.
Have you seen the Tom Bin bags?
Yeah, I have.
I am a fan.
I think about bags all the time. Those Red Cross bags. The bag I actually use now, which I can't actually see right now.
I should show you. This is my Tom Bin. I love my Tom Bin.
Actually, I use something. Is that a floppy bag?
Well, you know what's neat about this Tom Bin? Now they have this new. The TSA announced earlier this week that if you have a bag that can do like a butterfly thing, they won't make you take the laptop out of the bag. So this is
I have another tip on that though that might be of interest. And because you're a Mac user, you might appreciate this. You've seen the laptop sleeves, right?
Yes.
The padded.
Yes.
You can. My wife did this, and I always take my laptop out of the sleeve, out of the bag.
But they'll let you take the sleeve out.
You can just leave it in the sleeve and throw that through, and it works fine. And my wife did it, and it kind of came through security. I'm like, "What are you doing? You didn't take that out of the bag?" And she's like, "Yeah, they don't care."
No, as long as they could see it in the X-ray machine.
Yeah. So that's a great way to do it. You can protect your laptop in any bag you want using a sleeve.
Right.
Just pull the sleeve out.
Well, the thing I like about the Tom Bins is the fact that it has a lot of cable management, little smaller bags that you can clip in and stuff. Because that's the big one for me, and it's obviously for you too. Is all those little cables and having the right ones. That's
very much like what you just showed.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a stiff back of any kind. It will flop down to nothing if there's nothing in it.
Yep.
But it's nice for that reason because you take your laptop out of it, especially, and then it will jam into any space, anything. Because it's floppy. It doesn't take up a certain amount of space regardless.
Right.
So I've gone back and forth in the bags.
The Tom Bins have this thing they call a brain cell that is an insert that I would imagine is compatible with the TSA's regulations. It's hard to get out though. It's like you don't want it. You want it to be able to just kind of whip it out.
Yeah. Actually, I'll show it to you.
Show us your bags.
No, I won't show you the bag, but I'll show you the sleeve that I use.
Show us the sleeve.
It's it's an in-case sleeve.
I like in-case a lot. It's rubberized, right? I love those a lot. Yeah.
So I have two of these, and I had an HP tablet for a while. It works fine for that. I had a MacBook. It works fine for that. So they have different size bags, but
it's
nice.
Made of it's like a wetsuit material, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good way to go. And so that would be okay. You could pop it out of the bag with that.
It is okay. We flew back and forth to Ireland. We had two laptops and these things. No one asked a word, and
it's no neoprene, problems. So I guess the X-ray goes.
You can see right through it. There's nothing else in there.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. I might get one for my daughter because she's going to France.
Yes.
Yeah, she needs something to protect her MacBook Air. Boy, is she spoiled.
Speaking of spoiled,
that's spoiled.
That is spoiled. What's wrong with you?
I felt
You're
bad.
a terrible parent.
I'm a terrible parent. I got her a MacBook Air. What's wrong with me?
Oh man,
what's wrong with me? So the iPod, you could have played the Apple TV, the TV off of. You don't have an Apple TV, do you?
I do.
See, that's another way you could have gone.
You know what? We're going to get to that too because, I know because I think what happened was
you could have just brought that with you.
Absolutely. But last year when we stayed in France, there was no TV.
Ah.
So we had brought these DVDs. My kids used laptops to watch stuff on. Fine. I just didn't think anything of it. This year we show up. These guys have a nicer TV than we do. And,
Dang.
they have this whole stereo system thing going here, and it was like a really modern, nice. So
oh well.
I guess you live, you learn.
Oh, well, you live, you learn. Traveling, it's different when what you were doing, which is going somewhere to live for a few weeks versus just traveling. Although when I went to Vegas for New Media Expo last week, dumb me, I've got 80 different iPod charging cords, over the past years. I didn't bring one. So my iPhone, you need to charge it every 5 minutes or it dies.
Yes.
I'm going around. Can I borrow an iPhone cord? Anybody got it?
You're like Wimpy from the Popeye.
I will gladly pay you Tuesday for an iPod charger today.
Yeah.
It worked. I was able to borrow it. That's the other thing is everybody else has them too. So there is a standard there.
Yes.
Although I wish everything were USB chargeable. Now the BlackBerries do it. Some Windows phones do it where they use the standard USB connector. That's so much better. What a smart way to do it.
I agree.
Yeah. What phone are you using? Is it just the iPhone now?
I have the iPhone, but I have a Windows Mobile device coming this week.
Is it updated? Are we Windows Mobile? We're 6 still, right?
6.1.
6.1. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better? Is it getting better? I've never been a Windows Mobile fan. I'm sorry. I try it and I try it and I try it. And I just can never. I don't like a start menu on my phone.
Right. It is getting better. And I don't know if you saw the video this week. There was, I don't mind the huge, maybe you didn't hear that.
Well, I didn't hear a thing. Did you make noise?
Headphones, it was a loud Outlook reminder. Ding, ding.
Yeah, I used to on all the podcasts. In fact, people really got upset. I used to have little Outlook reminders, and people would say, I really hate listening to your podcast because I think I get new mail.
I should look this up because it was reminding me of something that happened 4 hours ago. And I don't know why. Anyway. As far as Windows Mobile goes, I talked to those guys this week, and because as you know, I'm doing a lot of iPhone stuff lately, but I get email from people, and I've had this sort of idea in my head that maybe it's time to reevaluate, what's going on the Microsoft side. So one of the things I did look at was Windows Mobile. I talked to those guys about what, because 6.1 came out probably, I want to say in April, but it isn't, unfortunately the way the market works, it's not until months later that decent phones come out with that new OS on them. So now we're starting to see those phones appear.
Right.
And they're finally, a bunch of phones now are offering upgrades. So if you have a Windows Mobile 6 phone, you can upgrade to 6.1 on many devices and more, I guess, in the near future. So that's kind of nice. But there was a video on the web that I think I just saw yesterday as well that looking at the UI for the next version of Windows Mobile, and I don't know how to describe this, in words in a very good way, but it's what I think of as a crossbar user interface. It's the same style of UI that they have in Windows Media Center. It's in the Zune, and it's the type of thing where you can scroll up and down, using kind of a big icon-looking type thing, but also left and right. So if you think about the way Media Center works, you might go up and down, and you go to things like recorded TV, and then pictures and videos. But from pictures and videos, you can go right and left. So you can do things like picture library, video library.
Saves so much time.
Yeah, so it's actually a decent UI. It's essentially what they have on the Zune. So if you're familiar with the Zune player, the device, it's on there. There was an early version on the portable media centers that Microsoft worked on with their hardware partners, and it's a nice UI. And I think if that is in fact the Windows Mobile UI, and not just maybe a custom UI that some company came up with, I think it's a great idea. It looks really nice. And it's met by complete silence.
Did you stop talking?
I did. Leo, we're not talking about server here. What happened?
I fell asleep. No.
I went out of the room.
I fell off my ball. It's okay.
You fell off your ball.
It's okay. I'm fine now. No, I went out to get a drink of water.
You actually left the room.
I left the room. You were fast. No, but I turned the speaker on, and then of course you stopped talking the minute I got. It's not far. It's just out the door here. You saw it. You know where I am.
Actually, I did. I have a hard time watching the video because
it's distracting.
But I should have been watching it.
If you had watched the video, you would have seen me get up, walk away.
I just noticed there was no sound, and I got nervous.
Yeah.
A crowd of one.
It just got very quiet.
The balloons go up. Good.
We're having a party now.
It's like the Stephen Colbert "we did it" thing. You know?
Yay, we did it! So,
Speaking of which, did you see
anyway.
that excellent Stephen Colbert clip with he talked about the kill switch on the iPhone?
No, I heard about it though.
So he said that it kills you. It's like Apple can.
Yeah, it's not.
Kill you
think it's an application, but it's actually killing you.
So he says he's going to get a Zune instead because the Zune doesn't have a kill switch. In fact, the Zune can't do anything. I thought
he's pretty funny. Yeah, it's a funny guy. All the Windows people are going. Yeah. So should I look at Windows Media? I mean, HTC does really great. I love the hardware. I'm not crazy about the operating system.
There's some cool phone models coming, right? So HTC Touch you mentioned, I think. Like things like the Blackjack 2 are pretty decent, or maybe I would say representative of what's going on with Windows Mobile. But Sony Ericsson's coming out with a Windows Mobile phone. I think you might have seen. I
love Sony's stuff. So the
Treo Pro, I think that was announced.
Yeah, they
today.
just announced the Treo Pro. Yeah,
there's some neat looking stuff. So
good.
Yeah, we'll see.
And is this 6.1 that it's using?
6.1, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how is 6.1 different from 6?
Yeah, it's not much different.
No, it's pretty
no, actually, they did.
It's
the big
one
difference
beta.
is actually it goes to 11.
We've got one beta. Yeah.
It's it has a new home screen primarily. I mean, there are other things. It has simpler Bluetooth sync and features like that.
The Treo Pro
honestly,
looks beautiful. I mean, it's a nice looking phone.
I think the big deal is the home screen. And I think the big deal going forward is right now, Windows mobile phones are a little confusing. There's a version for touch screens. There's a version for more traditional phones. We have a scroll wheel. And I think they're going to, finally get all that stuff, into a single OS, so the same exact OS will be on every phone and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we had this conversation I did with the Windows mobile guys. And, there was some good humor about, maybe I was talking about the iPhone a little too much, and maybe they could do something about that, that kind of thing. But, they do have it is astonishing how much goes on in that world. And if you're not really invested in it, it's easy not to pay attention to it. And it is interesting. I mean, they offer incredible solutions for businesses. You can manage phones through System Center in the same way that you do PCs. And that's amazing, for corporations. Not that it's exciting to talk about, but there is just such a wide range of functionality there that I think a lot of people in that world take for granted. And, companies like Apple now are struggling to try to emulate because it's important for businesses.
Right. In fact, that's the big thing Apple hasn't been able to get working with Mobile Me is all this business-based exchange stuff is the thing that's been biting them in the butt. It's a hard thing to do, it turns out.
Yeah, I think that, as it turns out, push is actually really difficult.
Yeah. All right, moving along. Let's see. I have to pull up my notes. Live search. Is something new?
No, well, let's move back. Actually, let's just step back.
We're not done yet. There's more.
Well, no. It's not that there's more. I think we just I just want to reframe this, and I think this will appeal to many people who listen to the podcast. I think people who go to the site. One thing I get a lot of feedback on from people is, and it always happens like this. For example, in September, Apple is going to release new iPods.
Yes.
So
we think.
So let's say it happens. Yeah. For that week in September, I'm going to write a number of articles about iPods and
everybody's going to hate you.
And I'm going to get email from people saying, "Oh, you should call Apple Supersite," and these things happen every single time.
Right.
That something like that happens. As if the week before I went to Ireland, I wrote 4 articles about Media Center extenders and Windows Media Center. I didn't get a single email from anyone saying, "Hey, great job writing about Windows for a week. That was great." Nobody even notices that.
Right.
But God forbid there's an article about Apple, then the people come out of the woodwork. "Oh, what are you doing?" Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, honestly, obviously, if I'm not, writing stuff that people want to read, that's something I need to reevaluate. But I think maybe because of my friend Jeff, when he came to Ireland with the Zune and shamed me. And what are you doing again?
I'm right here. What is that? Oh, that wasn't me. That was an error.
That was an error.
That happens every once in a while now. It's the little pink guys invade us.
I see. Okay.
Pretend,
anyway.
Paul, just for the benefit of Tony, who has to edit all this, just pretend you see nothing.
Well, here's what happens, though. When I put the video away, you leave the room. So I have to watch the video to ensure that you stay with me.
Okay.
But then when you do stay with me, the balloons come up. This podcast is going to make absolutely no sense.
So that's the problem. There's a lot of people listening to the audio, and they don't see the things that are happening. To them, it's all a great mystery.
Okay.
So
one of the things I think of this as going all in, right?
Yes.
To steal a phrase from poker, I guess.
Yes.
And I also think about a lot of the tech pundits recently who have done things like, hey, I think I'll use Linux for a month and I'll write about it like I'm some kind of a genius. You know? Hey, I'm the only person that's ever thought of doing this, you know.
Right.
Or Mac OS 10 or something, you know. I'm going to do this big experiment. Can I actually manage email in Mac OS 10? Yeah, as it turns out you can. Isn't that exciting?
Ooh.
But on the Windows side, I mean, I look at it like, and we've had this discussion. I think people should use the best solutions no matter where they come from. But there is this group of people, and I hear from them a lot saying, you know, Microsoft does this, Microsoft does this, Microsoft does this, and, you know, you don't cover this. So I thought to myself, maybe what happens if I surround myself in this all Microsoft world, right? Like, can I do this? Is not just to the point where it's viable. Like, I understand, obviously, you could do it if you had to, but, you know, would I want to do this, right? Would I want to use Internet Explorer instead of Firefox? You know, would it be as good using a Zune as it is using an iPod? And understanding that whole ecosystem that has to exist. You talked about the Apple TV, for example. There's no Apple TV on the Zune side. Right. There is a dock. You can put a Zune in your living room, and actually that works fine. There's a remote control and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of match these things up. Can I use a Windows mobile phone instead of an iPhone? Or would I want to use it instead of an iPhone? Can I use live search instead of Google? Hotmail instead of Gmail, you know, or maybe even an Exchange hosted service, which is something I'd really like to figure out. Is it economical for an individual to get access to an Exchange server? Right now, I think it's not. I think it's the short version. But
well, there's what is it? It's Zimbra. Is it kind of the Exchange, personal Exchange stuff? It's not really a server though.
There's a bunch of stuff like that. So you can get Exchange for $8 to $12 a month.
Yahoo bought it, but it's an Exchange clone. Yes. It's not Exchange.
Right.
You're saying, can they buy real Exchange?
Well, in other words, Exchange, there are actually many benefits to Exchange. You know, if you had Exchange in combination with Microsoft Outlook, in a combination with a Windows Mobile phone, all this push stuff that we're all trying to do right now, they've been doing that for years on Windows Mobile with Exchange. Exchange, in many ways, is the original push email server, right? They push contacts, they push calendars, they push email. That's why Apple said we're going to call this is Exchange for the rest of us. That's why, right?
Right.
This stuff has been there, you know, for a while. So there's also I think, I don't know if we mentioned this on the podcast, but one thing I'm working on, and it's grown into some awful nightmare, but I'm working on a guide to switching from the Mac to Windows, right? And a lot of people think that's a joke, but it's not really a joke. Because
all four people who will read that will really appreciate it.
I think you'll be surprised. You Mac boy, you.
Switching from Mac to Windows, who would do that?
All kinds of people would do that. But actually, to be honest, it's not really, just like switching to the Mac for a lot of people isn't really about switching to the Mac. It's more about switching between the two environments. You know, I think a lot of people get a Mac laptop and maybe they want to dual boot between Windows and the Mac and use each for whatever they do best. Or maybe you want to run Windows under the Mac using Parallels or Fusion or whatever.
No, in fact, there are a lot of Mac users who are using Windows. I actually, more than ever, really.
But this is something I wanted to talk to you about as well, because I know you go back and forth a little bit.
Oh, a little bit all the time. I'm sitting in front of two Windows machines, three Windows machines, and one Mac.
Right. So if you're comfortable doing something like I use Gmail for email and I always access it via web browser, accessing Gmail on the Mac and Windows is no big deal. But what if you want to access Gmail from your mail app on OS 10, but you want to access it from Outlook on Windows?
Right.
That works fine too. But what about your contacts? And how do you automatically sync them? So
you know what? I will read this article. No, you're exactly right. This is actually, it's not about switching. It's about interoperating.
Right. Right. I use switching because that's what Apple uses, but I think honestly, it is about interoperability, and I think that we're on the cusp of far more seamless interoperability than we've ever had. And years ago, before it was trendy, when I first started using Mac OS 10 to experiment with it back when the very first version came out, and over the years since, one of the hardest things is moving your data back and forth between these two environments. And you know, the promise, I should say, of Mobile Me which is not a reality, is that it will make that type of thing easy. But it seems to me you should be able to use off-the-shelf free utilities to make this happen, and that's a lot of what I'm writing about. So heading into this switcher guide, I've gotten sidetracked and written other things that sort of build up to this, because data interoperability is difficult. It's hard. Data sync, however you want to think of it. So I think on the Windows side, I'm interested in writing about what it's like to be a Windows guy, a Microsoft guy, I should say. I think I know there's an audience of people out there who, use the Microsoft stuff, whatever it is.
Right.
And anyway, this is something I'm experimenting with and trying, and I'm curious what kind of feedback people have on that. I mean, I think some people are going to say, who cares? I think you should do what you're doing. But I know that there are going to be some people who say, finally, it's about time. And so I'll see what the feedback's like. And I'm just curious what people think about this.
So you're going to work on that now, and when will that be up?
Well, it's coming out in phases. So I've done some data interop stuff. I've done things like the tip that I have this week is actually based around this stuff. I did some work around the Windows Live stuff specifically. But it's something that's going to be coming out over time, over a very large number of articles. I've 4 or 5 maybe are out already on the site now. But over time, and eventually what it will result in, or part of it, I should say, part of this whole mess will be the switcher guide, because that's part of this interoperability. Ideally, you can just move this stuff back and forth. Live mesh will be part of this eventually. There's just so much going on here, and I think that's the trend of the future, right? That we don't stick data in some singular application on a single PC and hope to God nothing ever happens to it. It's it should be a seamless synchronization,
right,
to wherever you want it.
Well, it's getting better. I mean, it's more a user issue of how do you do it then. I mean, I think interoperability is better than it's ever been before, don't you?
Yeah, but it's still a mess. That's the problem.
Yeah.
In other words, once you get into it,
right.
There are things like contact export import is very easy.
Yes.
True contact sync, very hard.
Right.
Calendar sync, very hard, despite the fact that we have international standards for calendaring.
I think it's gotten easier, though. I think partly because of Google and this data in the cloud. I mean, they've got APIs now for the calendar. They've got APIs for the contacts.
Well, okay, but Google doesn't allow you to do any sharing of anything other than your primary calendar. For example, that's a big issue. So if you want to use Google with, say, Outlook, you can use your first Google Calendar with Outlook. If you are the type of person, you like the color coding, like you get an iCal or you get an Outlook, you want to have multiple calendars for different things. That's nice, but it doesn't. There's my phone. It doesn't. It doesn't work.
Right. This portion of Windows Weekly brought to you by the good folks at Visa. When you go shopping online, if you're shopping for, who knows, maybe you're shopping for a Windows mobile phone, or you're shopping for a Windows Home Server. You want to be thinking about all the cool things you could be doing with it, not about online fraud. And that's why you use your Visa card when you go shopping. Will you do me that favor? Just pull out the Visa card, and all your troubles go away, because all your purchases are protected when you use Visa. They're safe. They're secure. Visa uses very sophisticated technology to identify and respond to fraudulent activity. They have many ways to prevent, to detect, and to resolve online fraud. Bottom line, zero liability. You're not liable for unauthorized purchases. You're not liable if something goes wrong. You're protected. When you shop online, please do me a favor. Use your Visa card. Safe, secure Visa. Now, that's peace of mind. What else should we talk about today?
Actually, I can conclude my bank fraud story, speaking of Visa.
Oh, you have a bank fraud story?
Well, remember my credit card got stolen while I was in
Dublin. Yeah.
Apparently there was a ring of people stealing credit card numbers in Europe.
Oh, dear.
And for some reason, they were always used at the same gas station in New York State.
Wow. So that's how they knew that it was that was fraudulent. That's actually
we were the first people that got flagged. So I feel somewhat special.
So you lost no money because you were using Visa.
Well, we lost no money. That's true.
See what I'm saying? I'm not making this up. People think I'm making it up as I go along. I'm not. This is true stuff.
I have to say I was surprised by how well this was handled.
Okay. Unsolicited testimonial from a real person.
Well, okay.
You are not an actor. Am I right, sir?
No, it was a miserable experience at first, but it worked out. So
I'm very happy that it worked out for you, and that's why you use your Visa. Let's see. Moving right along to other topics. Did you want to talk a little bit about live search? Because
not really.
Okay. Okay.
No, well, I have little notes.
There's a bullet point here that says stupid, silly, unavoidable.
Yes, there is. Is it a bullet point?
I don't know why it's there. I just love it.
I'm talking about the notion of going the Microsoft only route,
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So like people do that. They go, I'm going to use Linux only.
Yeah.
Could you go Microsoft only?
Could I?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. That's the thing. I mean, I've been using Internet Explorer. It's actually fine. It requires at least one plugin,
right,
to make it, for inline find and form spell checking, things that you sort of use in Firefox and don't really think about, and suddenly they're not there. You miss those. I've been using the Zune a lot, and I have to say it's fine. It works great. I don't feel that any of the Media Center Extender stuff I've used works as well as the Apple TV. Sorry, it's the performance isn't there, etc. I think on the live search side, I would say that I don't know if this part was in your notes or not, but live search is fine for searching, like general searching. In fact, it looks so much like Google, you wouldn't really notice it. But the image search is really different between Google and live search. And I know that they changed it on the Microsoft side for specific reasons, and it's good for something, I guess. But when I'm looking for images, I just find the Google interface to be superior. Not a big deal. But and I don't know. I use Gmail on the web, for example. I really like the interface. I think it works great. Hotmail to me is a little more difficult to use. It's slower. It works with a range of applications, I guess, but I'm not really interested in using local applications, but then that's part of this too, isn't it? So I don't know. I'm trying, I guess is what I'm saying.
But it seems doable.
It is doable.
Yeah. I mean, I could do it.
I guess the question is it preferable?
Well, that's the thing. It's artificial. And it's just as you were saying, it's artificial for the guy to say, I'm going to use Linux for a week and blog. It's artificial. Right. It's not the real world. We don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. And thank goodness we don't.
There's some weird stuff, like on the Zune and on the iTunes. There's some weirdisms about TV shows. If you were to take a video file and sort of go in and try and configure it in one of those applications to be a TV show, it's completely different in both. And the one thing I've noticed is that when you go back and forth between the two, if you make changes in iTunes, it screws up the Zune, and it's not the type of thing we should ever use both at the same time. It's kind of a disaster, actually. You can't add album art to videos on the Zune, which I find irritating. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I couldn't give my iPod up. But the Zune is fine. The Zune is fine.
It's fine. It's not as good, I guess, is the way I would say it.
Yeah.
There's just more stuff, for the iPod.
Well, we don't have to worry about that. That's the beauty of it. It's okay. You don't have to feel guilty.
I do feel guilty, Leo.
You don't have to feel guilty. It's okay.
I'm making this my problem.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know.
So what else? What else is new in the world of polythorot?
Well,
little
Microsoft's
polythorot
blogging about Windows 7
again with the Windows 7. Can they just shut up about the Windows 7?
I know. Well, they aren't saying much. I think that's the most notable thing is. They've started blogging about it, and they've managed to expend something like 10,000 words, and there isn't a salient new detail in the whole thing.
I like this. Our goal is about building an awesome release of Windows 7.
Yes. So you can rest easy at night knowing that that's what they're doing.
That's a whole paragraph, by the way. They emphasize that.
Previously, we thought they were going to make something bad.
Yeah.
So
no.
That really cleared that one right up.
Not only is it not going to be bad, it's going to be awesome.
The other thing I really enjoy with the Windows 7 stuff is the way they waffle back and forth between whether it's a major release or a minor release. And they're they very much want you to believe it's a major release, but all of the language they use suggests it's not a major release, right? I mean, oh no, it's based on the same kernel as Windows Vista. It's not going to have any additional compatibility issues. No new driver model. We're going to build on what we did with Vista in 2008. The kernel is an evolution, not a revolution. Memory management, networking, et cetera, all the same. So it's not a major release. But, this is a major release.
This is an in-house memo that they said, hey, this would be a good blog post. That's what this is.
Yeah.
I mean, from our perspective, we dedicated our full engineering team and a significant schedule to building Windows 7 Client OS. That makes it a major undertaking by any definition. We intend for Windows 7 to be an awesome release. It's not minor, it's not major, it's awesome. There's your answer.
It's awesome.
I hope this helped to see that perspective is everything when it comes to deciding how big a release is for each type of customer.
My natural sense of sarcasm aside, I will say that I appreciate the fact that they're actually communicating.
Hey, at least they're doing something. Yeah, it may not be the most communicative, but...
and hopefully it will get there. They seem very interested in talking about the background of what they're doing rather than what they're doing, right? But I think over time, as we get closer to October when the PDC happens or November when WinHack happens, we'll finally start getting these details that everyone is so obviously very interested in, but they are not interested in discussing. So I think we'll get there.
Cool.
So I take this as a positive step, I guess.
Good. I mean, time frame? Any?
For what?
Windows 7?
Windows 7. Well, that hasn't changed, right? They're saying that it will ship roughly 3 years after the general availability of Windows Vista, which is January 2010.
That's soon.
Yeah.
It's only like a year and a half off.
Well, but they put back WinHack. So WinHack normally occurs in April, May. Now it's happening in November. They've got a PDC this year, and these are the big events that always lead up to a next version of Windows. So they kind of tack these things right onto the end of each other. So I think the end of October, beginning of November, we'll probably see an early, if not a beta 1 release, some sort of a pre-release that, and also I would say some discussion about the feature set finally, beyond the very basic stuff that we've heard so far.
We're going to be doing a Security Now next week on these Vista, this presentation at Black Hat that said basically, we've ended around all the Vista security stuff, the random code execution and the DEP and all that stuff. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is exactly what Ed Bott wrote about it. I thought his post was excellent, and basically what he said was, the whole world jumped all over this, right?
It's a big story if it's true. If Vista's security model's compromised, that's huge.
It's sort of huge. I mean, I would put it more like what's huge is the reason I think it was jumped all over was somebody from I think Search Security or one of the other articles said, Vista's security subsystem has been rendered useless. And there is nothing that Microsoft can do to address this problem.
Well, that is a little bit,
Well, it's not true.
Yeah, that seems like a little overstatement.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And the problem is this has been picked up by everybody. And so I think what happens is you see a lot of breathless headlines, opening paragraphs where the whole world is coming crashing down. And then if you actually read what they're writing, these problems will be addressed in the future by Microsoft. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's really not much more than... It's really not. It's really nothing. I guess is what I would say. But I think people like, they like controversy. Vista, again, as always, the convenient whipping boy. I think I hope I wrote this in the notes. Yes. What is it about Windows Vista that makes people so stupid?
I love that line.
Yeah.
So what? Okay. So Ed Bott's saying it's fixable. Is he saying it's not a real threat? What is he saying?
No, he's not saying that because nobody knows what it is. What he's saying is that everything you've read about it is basically wrong, because the notion that Microsoft isn't going to be able to fix this or can't fix this is complete baloney. In fact, the guys at the show who supposedly said that never said that.
Oh.
And that's the big problem. They've completely been misquoted. And actually, it was, yes, somebody wrote him back and said, sensationalism sells.
Right.
There's no news like bad news.
Right. Right.
And by the way, let's face it, we were at they were at a security conference. It's an interesting conference. And, I've never been to it personally, but, this is that special time of the year when the sort of legitimate security researchers and the OS guys get together with the black hat types, the actual hackers. And it's almost like they kind of agree to, to a little détente or whatever.
Right.
And I guess there was an event, I don't recall the details, but there was an event at the show where I guess some reporters from UK or at least European,
I think it was a French code publication, security publication, hacked other journalists in the press room.
Yeah, good stuff. Which kind of violates the point of the event, right?
Well, when you go, look, Patrick's been to every DEF CON ever, and he said, I don't bring a laptop to DEF CON. Because
I would just sit there with my iTunes sharing wide open.
Yeah, right. There's, but it's kind of always been and it's not unwritten, the written rule that the press room is off limits. And so because they're press, they're covering it. They're going to use Wi-Fi, and you're not allowed to hack their Wi-Fi. So the journalists did it. They went into the press room, and they did it, by the way. And, wasn't a good hack. It was a skanky hack anyway. And in fact, at least in one case, it was bogus that they, in fact, didn't hack somebody's credentials that they said they did. It was grandstanding. I'm glad they got thrown out and they're gone. They're not coming back. So that was just.
Yeah, right. They got kicked out.
Forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. As they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a Black Hat or a DEF CON? Be fun. I'd like to do
listen, I'm an idiot, okay, for starters, right? I would be like
I wouldn't understand a word.
The little rabbit in a bunch of hunters.
But I've been doing security now for 3 years, and I figure I can, look intelligent. Maybe not.
I was at just a regular press event for might have been Office 2007 or some kind of mainstream product. And of course, at the time, it was probably before Vista. My computer was wide open. And some guy at the show left a file on my desktop as a little,
Yeah, hey, by the way, you're wide
downloading
open.
your entire music collection, jerk.
No, Randall Schwartz used to do that when we'd go on the cruises. He'd go around saying, "Is this your password?" Because people were using the Wi-Fi and sending their email password.
The early days of this wireless stuff. When there was the XP launch, I remember we got on 13 different wireless networks sitting there in the audience.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy.
Oh, it's absolutely. Yeah. Let's see what else is on your list to talk about here, Mr. Paul Thurrott. Microsoft at the Olympics. Did you see the blue screen of death?
I did, but I would just tell you my take on that, right? Okay, so they went with XP, not Vista, right?
Yeah.
So
there you go.
To be said to that.
All right.
But I would just say this: it's sort of like the Johnny Depp. Pirates movie, the first one where he says, "Well, you've heard of me," and the guy says, "Well, yeah, but you're a scumbag pirate." Or whatever. He goes, "Oh, but you have heard of me."
It was Windows.
Okay, blue screen of death. You know what? They're using Microsoft products.
It is Windows. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But you have heard of me.
But you have heard of me. Yes.
So has Silverlight been a success? You think from the NBC Olympics side? I think it's worked very well.
I think this has been rocking and rolling.
Yeah. No, I think so.
That's not all they're doing. That's what's really interesting about this. And, of course, I was away, so I didn't have a chance to write about this in a timely fashion, so I did it this week instead. But, in addition to the obvious NBCOlympics.com thing with the Silverlight and the picture-in-picture with up to 4 video streams and all that, awesome. Although, like I discovered in Ireland, it's U.S. only, which kind of stinks.
Oh, that's too bad. So you haven't been able to watch this.
No, until I got back, yeah. But Microsoft's actually doing a bunch of other things, and I think it's really cool. So there's a plugin for Vista Media Center, which can also get blasted out to any extender, which is really nice. And what it allows you to do is essentially subscribe to whatever events, and many of them are in HD, and you can basically watch individual events on demand, whatever it might be. So I subscribe to, say, basketball and beach volleyball and whatever else was on there, and I can come back at the end of the day. And I can look at all the stuff that happened over the last 24 hours on my own, schedule, and it's really nice. It's kind of an amazing plugin. There's also content on the Zune Marketplace and the Xbox Marketplace for 360 users, where you can buy essentially what are recorded TV shows of the events, 99 cents to maybe a couple bucks depending on what it is, and they're going to do a retrospective at the end. they have videos of the opening ceremonies and all that stuff. So if you're a Zune user or you have an Xbox 360, you can get all that content on your devices. And then there's also, they did some integration on live search with the Olympics. You can search if you type in, certain key phrases that are related to the Olympics. It will give you Olympics-specific results. If you type in something like medals or medal count or anything like that, they're doing that on live search. And then something I mentioned in my blog, there's a guy named Donovan West who created a sidebar gadget, which is basically a medal count. And I've got it. I've had it here since the Olympics started, so I can see today. Yeah, so you can see the total medal count for each of the top 5 countries, but also, the gold, the silver, and the bronze. So the U.S. right now, as we speak, is in first with 82 total medals compared to China, who has 79. Although China has significantly more gold medals, 45 gold medals compared to 26 for the U.S. And then Russia, Great Britain, and Austria are also in the top 5.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So if you want that, I would search for Olympics on the Supersite blog, and you'll see
Are there a lot of sidebars? Has that become a good ecology? A lot of little widgets.
No, it really hasn't, and that's something I'm really disappointed in.
Yeah.
There's a real scarcity of high quality gadgets for Windows Sidebar, and I don't know exactly the reason, but I would say that Sidebar, like Sideshow, which is a feature that has not materialized in any huge way, is another gadget environment that Microsoft created for laptops and other portable devices. It just seems like this stuff has withered on the vine, sort of like Ultimate Extras has, and it's too bad because there are some high quality gadgets. Windows ships with a handful that are decent, but there's only one gadget that I download that's from a third party, and it's I should look and see what it's called. It is. It's called Multimeter, and it's basically, it gives you a look at the processor cores on your system and how they're being utilized, and then the memory as well. So you get a percentage view of the memory. So they're like little bar charts or whatever, and that's a neat one. But that's literally the only one. And I go up every once in a while and I look around, but it's like a bunch of Visual Basic programs up there. It's a bunch of really awful looking, terrible gadgets. I don't know what's going on there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's too bad.
Yeah. I think maybe as more people adapt Vista, one of these days Vista will sell well, and then you'll see more.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. So here's a good Vista story for you.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Right. No, Vista's not a success, right? We all know this.
It's a flop.
We all know this.
Yeah.
But here's the latest story about Vista.
Yes.
The PC satisfaction results have come out, and I don't know for the first time ever, but apparently the satisfaction of PC users is down across the board.
Really?
So what are we blaming this on?
Yeah.
Windows Vista, the OS that nobody's using. So somehow either they're using it or they're not, right? Right. We have to decide how we're going to rag on Windows Vista.
Who does these satisfaction awards?
I don't know. I just find I don't know if this is ironic or hypocritical. I don't know how you want to describe this, but it doesn't sell well. It's not something people are buying it in businesses and not installing it en masse, according to certain people. And yet, enough people are using it that the entire PC satisfaction index for the industry has gone down dramatically in the past year.
Well, you've convinced me. You've convinced me.
I'm just curious how that could be.
It's all I use now.
One or the other. It's all you use.
It's all I know. And all my new machines, Vista. We just bought a new Dell Vista. I'm not. XP feels old and
it is old.
Tired. And frankly, despite this news from Black Hat, I still feel much better about Vista security than I do about XP security.
Well, there's no contest there. I mean, I don't. You can say what you want about Vista. We can debate different things, but the security situation on Vista is dramatically better than it is on XP, and that's been borne out. I mean, there's absolutely evidence that you can look not just at the security vulnerabilities that both systems faced over the first 15 months of the market, respectively, but how about just the 15 months, the same 15 months? XP has fared far worse than Vista has in the real world.
Right.
That's the truth. That's just the way it is.
Right. Well, someday there'll be enough Vista users that we can make some widgets.
And then PC reliability will fall through the floor again or whatever.
I'll be honest, I turn the sidebar off immediately. But that's just because
use it.
You use. I know you use it. You love it.
Yeah, I do love it.
I don't.
Because I am a Microsoft kind of guy.
It uses up too much desktop real estate
Space.
for me.
Well, you need a big. It's much better on a big monitor. By the way,
wide monitor. Yeah.
Well, not just wide, but a big monitor, big resolution.
Yeah.
The MacBook 1280 by 800 or whatever that is, not good enough.
Not enough. No.
1920 by 1200, awesome.
Yeah. So I just need a bigger screen. That's okay. I'll go buy a 30-inch display because I'm using Vista.
You need more toys.
30 inches is good. We just bought the new for the Ultimate Gaming Machine, which is, by the way, running Vista 64. Talk about putting my money where my mouth is. We just bought the new Dell 30-inch display.
Yeah, nice. Does that require 2 cards, like a 2?
Yeah, it's dual link.
Prong
but
display,
that's not a problem because we have not 1, not 2, but 3 BFG GTX 280 video cards, and they're all dual link, of course, because they have each of them has a gigabyte of DDR3 VRAM in it.
Wow,
this thing is a monster. It's a work of art. Colleen's building it right now. It's beautiful. Just a work of art.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. But
it's basically what you need to run Windows Vista.
Exactly. Windows Vista runs beautifully on it.
64-bit processor. How much RAM is in this thing?
We only put 4 gigs in. I suppose I should put more in. Should I put more in? It's for gaming. Yep. No game uses that much.
I don't care.
Okay. It's DDR3. It's expensive. I'll put 8 in.
Sure it is.
For you, I'll put in 8. We already spent $8,000 on the thing. No, more like $9,000. Who cares?
Listen, you'll spend $10,000 on this, and all it's going to come down to is a shot of Task Manager with all the processor cores and the RAM and stuff. That's all it is.
Now then we're giving it away. It's going to be.
I mean, I could Photoshop one for you if you want to save a couple.
Maybe that'd be a good idea. Look at this. Oh my God, it's got 800 processors all at once. And figuring out. Yeah, that probably should do it. You know what we're not putting in it because it's a gaming machine is Wi-Fi. Do you put Wi-Fi on your desktops? No, because but I see a lot of desktops ship with Wi-Fi. I don't get it. I mean, a laptop, of course.
A lot of desktops do. Yeah, well, a lot of people have, your home is configured however it's configured. You have cable coming in and your TV's wherever it is, but then your laptop may be in a home office up in the other corner of the house, and most people don't have wired networks. So, sure.
I figure for gaming, you're going to want to use wired. Although, we're using N in the office. It's pretty fast. Have you moved to N?
I just did.
Which one did you get? Whose router?
I got an Apple.
No.
But hold on. Let me explain. Wait, hold on. I'll tell you why.
You bought an Airport Extreme
Express.
You got the little one.
The little one. But that's why.
That's why.
See, I wanted to add it to what I already have, and I wanted to use it in N mode only.
Right.
For specific devices. So actually, one thing I noticed, and the reason 2 reasons, I guess. The 2 laptops I'm using for the most part right now both have N wireless adapters. This is kind of a first. I never really had anything before a few months ago that had N just built in. And I had an Airport Express previously, the original version, the G version. The nice thing about it is you can bring it with you on the road, plug it into a broadband connection, which I did in the house in Ireland as well, by the way, but also in a hotel. If you have and then you can sit over with the laptop in another part of the room. It's nice. It works in different ways, right? You can extend an existing network. You can add a new wireless network. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. Small, it's fairly inexpensive. But the other reason is I have an Apple TV and a Media Center extender that are in sort of a hole in the wall, that was built for this purpose. And I had a wire running up into there. And very recently, for some reason, this wire stopped working. And after a bunch of experimentation, I finally figured out that's what it was. And rather than dig out the wall and figure out, how to fix that, I thought, these 2 devices both work with N networks. N's supposed to be pretty good for this kind of thing, streaming media. I need to try this. So I got the N adapter, the Apple thing. I put it in N only mode. I still have a G network for basically just for backwards compatibility at this standpoint. It's built into the router. And so the laptops are on the N thing. I've got the Apple TV and the HP Media Center extender are both on the N network. And I have to say, from a performance standpoint, real world use, it actually kind of works. It's I would say on the Apple TV and the extender specifically, I don't actually notice a difference.
Really?
Yeah. It's close. I mean, I can actually see the box that's created by the hole from here. So
it's right there. Yeah.
The distance is not far.
Right.
But it's a slightly more elegant solution. And like I said, but when I go away, I'll just take that thing with me.
No, actually, I use Expresses, and I have an Airport Extreme at home. But I'll be honest, when we bought it for the office, because I'm all Mac at home, but when I bought it for the office, I bought a Linksys. And
yeah, well, I looked at the Linksys. So Linksys, especially the new ones. Have you seen
got all the
things?
little antennas and.
Well, no, have you seen the new one? No, the new one has no antennas. It's this crazy little black disc. It's man, no, this is like a Darth Vader looking thing. It's really neat.
Wow.
But
no, I got the old one that looks like something from Buck Rogers in the 21st century.
Yeah, the reason I went with Apple, aside from being a total sycophant, is that
he's being sarcastic. Please, no letters.
It's because it's a great device to bring on the road.
Yeah,
and I have brought, and like I said, we brought it to Ireland. It worked fantastic.
Well, they're small.
So.
They're really portable.
Yeah, and they work. And honestly, you plug the thing in, it comes on. It's done. You know.
Yeah. There's because really who needs security? Wireless security. There's security. In fact, the funny thing about the old Airport Express that I brought to Ireland was I hadn't actually used that thing in, I don't know, a year or something. So I had to upgrade the firmware. You know, it was one of the first things that happened. But I went to put my first laptop on it, and it came up with a password prompt. So I thought, okay, what would I have used as a password? A year ago, I started thought about it. Oh, well, the first one I tried was the one that worked. So, well, you're just lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
I hate that. I never remember my old passwords. No, I think N is, for a while I thought maybe people would use 802.11a for media because there'll be not much conflict on it and so forth. But N turns out to be fine. It's got good length, good distance. It's got excellent speed.
A's gone by the wayside, I would say.
Nobody's doing it.
And I think that using N in N only mode, I guess I could leave the laptops on G, right, and use N specifically for those devices. That does what A would have done, right? That's what A was all about,
right?
Other than I guess the interference stuff, because isn't N on the same?
They're both on the same frequency.
G and B. And
thus A is on its own, but N is on 2.7, whatever it is, 2.7. Yeah.
I've lost you. I cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me? That's not my fault, man. I'm still talking. Hello, Paul. Hello.
That's because I've muted my computer.
I thought maybe that would be it.
I was gesticulating and I hit the mute button on my keyboard.
Never gesticulate.
I can't help it. I'm Italian.
Yeah. Are you? Thorotini?
Thorotini.
Yeah. Really? What is Thorot? Thorot's French.
That's French Canadian.
Me too.
I'm half Irish and half Italian.
I'm a quarter Italian, a quarter French Canadian. And then the other side is like WASP, Scotch, English, Irish. So we're very much alike, you and I.
I would never admit that.
I'm a little bit Mac. He's a little bit Windows. We should have a song like Donnie and Marie.
If you could wear bell bottoms and do a routine, I would consider it.
Let's take a break and talk about our Audible pick, and then we'll get your software pick and your Vista tip of the week. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Audible brings us this show, and of course, we thank them so much for their support of the show. Paul and I are both Audible book fanatics. If you go to audible.com/windows, you can be too. Sign up today. U.S. only, by the way. Sorry to say, but sign up today and use that special URL, audible.com/windows. You'll get a free book that you can keep. Lots of great choices. I love your choice of the week this week, Paul.
You know what's interesting about this book is, of course, it came out some time ago. In fact, I want to say a friend bought me the print version of this book for Christmas a year and a half ago.
Uh-huh.
I want to say. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what it was. For whatever reason, this author and this book I've heard discussed on the radio a number of times recently, including today on NPR.
You're kidding. That's a coincidence.
Yeah, really strange. But you know what? It's a great book, and I was thinking to myself, this is one of those books that's just going to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It's a book that's going to become part of history, right? That in the future, when people say things about this time period, part of the reason they'll know this is going to be because of this book. I really feel like it's a kind of an important book, I guess.
Well, that's our recommendation for the week, and we hope you buy it. And
guess what it is, and if you guessed correctly,
it's
how
Doris.
long could I talk about it before telling you what it is?
I love how you did that. It's
you know where I got that communication style from is from the Windows 7 guys, because they can talk endlessly about it and never actually
and never say
it.
anything. Yeah. This is Doris Kearns Goodwin, who is really one of our best historians. And his team of rivals, the political genius of Abraham Lincoln. It's very timely. It's about how he put together a team. It solved. Basically, the United States was in crisis. It's the worst time we've ever been in as a nation.
Right.
And maybe there's a message here for the next president who's going to have a similar mess to solve.
And this is not a dig at, say the current president or anything like that. But I think when you compare this style of politics to modern politics in the United States especially, but probably elsewhere, not just this president, but, all the presidents probably in my lifetime, I don't think there is an analog to this. I don't think there is an example of a modern president really being this way. I mean, making that very difficult but correct decision.
Reaching across the table, finding people who maybe
doing the right thing for the country, not for himself.
Or his party. Exactly.
Or his party. Yeah. Exactly. It's amazing. So
we're in such, we're tied up with partisan party politics right now. It's killing the nation.
Listen, he never would have switched to the Mac. That's all I'm saying.
Screw you, Thurrott.
You can tell. Look at him. You can tell he's a PC user. The guy he had no money.
Doris Kearns Goodwin, team of rivals, the political genius of Abraham Lincoln, Windows user. That's actually the full title. Many people don't know.
Windows user.
Windows user. Yeah.
The original Windows user.
Yeah, he was. He was the first. Quill Award nominee 2006, National Book Critics Circle Award finalist for biography 2005. I think I could read everything ever written about Lincoln. I find him fascinating.
Yeah, endlessly. It's amazing.
Just amazing. And of course, William Seward, Salmon Chase, Edward Bates, and Abraham Lincoln all thought they had a good shot at the Republican nomination. He won.
That's the opening of the book, right? I think it's Seward goes home and he is convinced he's won the nomination.
Right. And instead of saying, I beat you, you're out of here, he created a coalition cabinet of all of these people, and they together worked to solve our grave civil war. So I think she's really great. I love reading her stuff. That's our book of the week, Team of Rivals, the Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln. Get it free. Thanks to our friends at Audible. Just go to audible.com/Windows. They are the best. And soon on the Zune. Not yet.
I heard a rumor today, by the way.
Yes.
And I think I heard this via email that, we've been waiting for Zune support of Audible for a long time. And Audible's been telling people via email, including myself, that this support is coming, but it may actually be coming in the 3.0 Zune software that's supposedly coming this fall. So we may have to wait as long as October or November, if that's the case.
All right.
Kind of hope not.
All right. It does play on everything else, including, by the way, you can use your PC or you could burn standard CDs. So even if you're a Zune user, there's lots of ways you can listen to Audible books.
Yes, painful ways probably, but yes.
Well, the Zune would be the best. By the way, Richard Thomas reads this. John Boy.
That's who that is?
That's John Boy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. Okay,
yeah,
very good.
I love that. That's why you felt this deep, warm, feeling when you heard his voice.
When we finish up tonight, you should turn the screen black and we can say goodnight.
Good night, Paul. Good night, Pa. I'm tempted to do it right now. Good night, Paul.
I know you are. Back away from the keyboard there.
We're not going to. I've got this button. It's fade to black. Look at that. Good night, Paul.
It doesn't fade to black. It just goes right to black.
Well, it's close enough. Fade to black, go to black.
And the sun goes down.
So let's talk about should we do the tip of the week or the software of the week? What do you want to talk about?
It's up to you. I can
you
go.
Put the pressure on me, man. Let's start with our tip of the week, and then we'll end with the software of the week. Paul Thurrott, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Good night, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Laporte. There it goes. Yeah.
Good night, Paul.
I'll talk about servers so you can get to sleep.
That'll help. Would you do that? I would actually. We should make a special recording
of
Paul Thurrott on.
I'll read something about server and people go to sleep.
Well, you have a beautiful, soothing voice.
Do I?
Yeah. Some might say soporific. I'd say soothing.
As I said to my friend's teenage son who stayed with us in Ireland, the last thing you're going to see before you die is a pillow. And,
if you're lucky.
that I'll be holding.
Oh,
You know?
on your face. That's a terrible thing to say.
You'll just well, he was. We had a good time.
Was he like every time he see you, he would just cringe?
No, he was aggressive.
All right. So go ahead, try it.
He gave it back.
Try it, old man. Give me the pillow. So your tip today involves something we were talking about a little bit, which is kind of synchronization and so forth.
I've been trying really hard to get things synchronized between things that just don't work together well. And one of those things is, Hotmail, right? You can't get Hotmail is fine if you have a Windows mobile phone.
Right.
You can get your contacts, you can get your mail pushed to the phone. Native application works great.
Yep.
Obviously on the PC side, there's all kinds of stuff, all of it Microsoft. One of the things that Microsoft did with Hotmail that I really don't appreciate is there's no POP3 or IMAP support. So you have to use Microsoft applications to access this bizarre custom mail type. And I guess that's their prerogative, but it makes it hard for interoperability. And of course, over the past year or so, working with the iPhone, one of the things I've been trying to do is get, Windows, what they call Windows Live contacts, your Hotmail contacts, to sync directly to the iPhone. And I thought this was impossible. In fact, I've been writing for a year that this is impossible. But as it turns out, there is a barely documented feature, not in Hotmail or Windows Live Mail or anything like that, but rather in Windows Live Messenger, that allows you to share your contacts with Windows contacts, which is part of Windows Vista, and thus with the iPhone, because the iPhone natively supports Windows contacts. And this is actually kind of awesome. It works really well. So you can manage your contacts on the phone. You can delete contacts, change contacts, and they'll eventually sync back up to the cloud, not via push, but you have to do the old style sync. I would say the current style sync, the kind of traditional sync. But this actually works. And the way that you do this is you go into the options dialog for Windows Live Messenger, right, which is Microsoft's instant messaging client. Go to the security tab, and there's an option there. It says encrypt contact list data so that it is not accessible outside of Windows Live Messenger. And if you uncheck that, all of your contacts from Windows Live Contacts, which is what Windows Live Messenger accesses, right, and integrates with, get copied right into Windows Contacts on Windows Vista automatically.
Wow.
It happens fairly immediately.
You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. Now, what's interesting about this is, aside from the iPhone stuff, obviously you can go up to the web and use Windows Live Contacts. It's part of Hotmail. You can do things with your contacts up there that are very interesting. For example, you can merge contacts, and they have some contacts-specific functionality that's not available anywhere else. That's interesting. You can use applications like Outlook with the Outlook connector, Windows Live Mail, to access your contacts. You can use Windows mobile devices, like we said. But now you can also use Windows Contacts. So if for whatever reason you wanted to manage your contacts from within the Vista native application, you can do so. But now, because of that capability, you can also sync that thing straight through to the iPhone, which is, it shouldn't be, but it is actually kind of an amazing bit of functionality. Now, obviously, contacts is one thing, but you want to be able to get your mail on the device as well, and also your calendar. Hotmail, you basically have to use a third-party utility. Somebody sent me an email today about something called EasyMail, which is about $18 a year. It works with basically every webmail solution on Earth. So it provides you with POP3 and IMAP support, and also push support on the BlackBerry, which is really interesting.
So it's per year. So is it a web-based service or?
Yeah, it's a web-based service. You just basically sign in and configure the account, and it basically pulls Hotmail, but it provides you with POP3 and IMAP email server names that you can use with your Hotmail. So it actually, and it's a little dodgy. Because
Hotmail isn't IMAP or POP, but it'll pull your mail and then put it in a format that you can then use it as if it were IMAP or POP.
That would allow, I can't imagine why you would do this, but if you wanted to use Hotmail with, say, Windows Mail, part of Windows Vista, that it would enable that support. If you wanted to use Hotmail with Mozilla Thunderbird or Apple's
your
Mail
BlackBerry. I like this. It can do MSN, Yahoo, AOL, or Gmail to your BlackBerry as push mail.
Right. That's cool. Very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Calendar, still up in the air. Windows Live Calendar, broken. It's in beta, state of flux, etc. As I made sure of, I asked them about this specifically, and as of today, you can't actually access Windows Live Calendar from a Windows mobile device unless you go through the mobile web, which would be true of any device, because it's still in beta. And just before the show started tonight, I was looking at it again, and they've fixed some things. I noticed that you can subscribe to Google Calendars, and it works fine. And that was actually broken for a few weeks. That works fine. But they still have no notion of publishing using iCal. Instead, they have this kind of lame Windows Live Calendar style sharing. So you can, if you know other people who are on Windows Live, you can share your calendar with those people. But that's stupid. I mean, they don't have iCal standard sharing. So hopefully that will happen. So this is, I guess it's part of the picture. It's almost there. So if you're using Windows Live, it's obviously Hotmail and the contacts are the big ones. Contacts you can do for free right now. Hotmail, you have to pay. It's not too expensive. I think you should test it first. It's my understanding is that POP3 actually works a lot better than does IMAP at this time. But, we're getting there. So this is, sort of an interoperability tip, I guess.
I feel it's funny, kind of the worm turns, because Mac people have had to suffer for a long time. And now you guys want to use an iPhone. And I have to say...
you enjoy this.
It works great on a Mac. No, but
I will say this. Rather than whine about it like you guys, I'm trying to find a solution.
That's right. No, we've done all that. We've done all the kludges in that. And there are two companies, Pocket Mac is one, that really have kind of specialized in getting Windows mobile stuff moved over.
Well, I was a customer of one of them. Who were the guys that did the
Missing Sync and Pocket Mac? They were both great.
Yep.
And I believe I've spent hundreds of dollars with both of them.
Well, so I wrote 4 very long articles. Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, and then just sort of a roundup where I said, okay, here are your sync options on the PC, on the web, on devices, right? Very complicated. But what I'm saving for the 5th part is this collection of essentially kludges, like third-party utilities. There are things out there that let you do things like over-the-air push of Gmail and Google Calendar to whatever device, including the iPhone. I'll be writing about that stuff in the future. But obviously, what I'd like to see is these companies natively support this stuff across the board on a variety of things. I have to say, Microsoft actually does a pretty good job, and there's nothing to suggest that they're not going to do that, for the iPhone as well. They do a good job supporting not just Windows Mobile, but also BlackBerry and Symbian, with Hotmail and Calendar. So I think it's coming. Good.
But is it coming from Apple, or is it coming...
I think it will have to come from Microsoft. I don't think there's any way for Apple.
No.
You know what? I shouldn't say that. I don't know what sort of APIs Microsoft has provided for accessing things like contacts and email from Hotmail.
Right.
My guess would be they actually do have something there, but I think we're going to see the solution come from Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, they own it. It's their deal, man.
Sure.
You ready for the software of the week, ladies and gentlemen? Drum roll, please. I like the name.
Well, there's 2.
There's 2.
So I assume you're...
Oh, I know about the other one, but Edison is new to me. So what is Edison?
Yeah, this dates back a little while. I'd written about this when I was in Ireland. Microsoft and a group of other industry companies are coming together and trying to, work on green computing efforts. And part of this is a company called Verdium, who I have to admit I'd never heard of. They're an enterprise company that creates, among other things, software that does energy monitoring in the enterprise. And it's designed it basically examines a PC and says, okay, here's how you can save money by, turning the monitor off faster, churning down the hard drives faster, ratcheting down the processor faster, that kind of thing. So what they've done is they've made a utility available free to Windows XP and Vista users that does the same thing. And it's basically it's sort of a plugin for the power management functionality that's already built into Windows. And it adds a new profile called Edison, and you can ratchet it up in different ways. You can go into the UI and say, okay, I want to save as much money as possible. Performance be damned. That's what I want, and that's one of the things you can do. So, excuse me, I installed it on my laptops while I was away, and I think one of the things that's interesting about it is. It seems like there's a better interaction with the PC when you move between power and battery than there is natively in Windows. It does, I think, just a better job of dimming the screen, turning down the drive. You can turn off, the various adapters in the system automatically as well. It's nice. So it's a free utility. If you're concerned with any of the green computing type stuff, or just even saving a little money on energy, I suppose it's a decent way to go. A decent thing to look at. It's free, so what the heck? I mean,
Edison.
Yeah. So it's verdiem.com, verdiem/Edison. As in Thomas.
That's kind of nice. Now, this other one is a real winner. I mean, people are always saying, Nero. We used Nero for a long time because it was better than Roxio, but it's been hard to find.
Nero went off a cliff, right?
They went off a cliff.
Nero is this insane suite of stuff. I don't even know what it is.
It's like everything. And that's what happened to Roxio as well.
Yeah. That happened to Roxio years ago. So.
Yeah, and then Nero followed it off the same cliff. They were like lemmings.
They really did. And I honestly think there's a huge market out there for something way simpler.
Right. I agree.
And so this is the second, and I'm going to keep talking about this without naming it. The second one is
Doris Kearns Goodwin presents
exactly.
CD Burner XP.
Right. And it works in Vista. It works fine. And I actually really like this application a lot. It does have a kind of an XP style user interface. And if you're familiar with utilities like Image Burn, which is also excellent, it offers similar functionality. So
but this is free, right?
It's absolutely free. You can create and burn ISO images. You can create audio discs. You can copy discs, erase rewritable media, et cetera. It's just a nice little application. It works exactly the way you want it to. It is sort of like what Nero used to be back before, back when they were still cool.
I was so glad when I found this. I just love it. And they've kept
what
it
I should say, I'm sorry, this comes from a listener. Stephen Kelly emailed me about this while I was in Ireland. I had never heard of it. I was kind of astonished by it. In fact, usually when I get tips about this kind of thing, I think to myself, well, this can't be any good. I've never even heard of this thing. I mean, I tend to be pretty active with this stuff, and it's great. It works really well.
Well, it also does high def DVDs, does Blu-ray and HD DVD. Yeah. So if you happen to have one of those burners, it also does boot discs. So everybody, nowadays nobody has floppies anymore. So you need a CD burning application so that you can make boot CDs.
And I literally just used this today.
Yeah, this will do it.
I had to create a Vista boot, a setup disc. Mm-hmm. Which I could not find.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Vista does have built-in burning, but it can't burn boot discs and ISOs and stuff.
No. Right, it can't do that.
Yeah. So this is a really nice thing to know about. CD Burner XP.se, which is Sweden. Sweden. Yes. And of course, once again, we thank the Swedes for their contribution to world culture.
You're referring to the Olympics?
I don't know. Hey, how many medals do they have?
No, did you see the guy who, I think he was a Swedish guy, he came in third in a Olympic wrestling match, and he felt he got burned by the judges, and he took his medal and put it on the ground and walked away. Wow. And they took it away from him. And I believe he was from Sweden.
Oh, that's sad. They took it away from him?
I know.
Because he was just upset. That wasn't. If he had stomped on it, if he jumped up and down on it.
Listen, we've all had our petulant moments, but I mean, this is
Mr. Petulant.
This is the Olympics. I mean,
you're not allowed to do that.
You got to come on. You got to show up.
Suck it up.
Sporting at the Olympics.
Suck it up. You lose, dude.
Sporting is the baseline at the Olympics.
Oh, all right. I think you're right. Hey, so you're going to be out of town. We normally record this on Thursday and release it on Friday. We've been recording on Wednesday. So by the way, if we forgot anything important, it's because we weren't aware of it.
It's stupid.
We're in the past. We're living in the past. But where are you going? What you doing?
I'm going to Washington, D.C.
Oh, fun.
And I've been, I get down to D.C. probably about once a year. I love D.C. I have a friend who works for the government, so he goes down there for work, and I'll make up excuses to go down there. So my friend is down there, or I have someone who comes in from out of town or something. We'd head down on the train. So I've been talking it up, though. So my wife has wanted to go for a while. So we didn't go away to Ireland as long as we usually go away in August. So I thought we could take a long weekend and bring the kids down there and, check out the monuments.
I love it. I love DC. Yeah. If I lived where you live, I would go down there more often. I really would. I think it's just so much fun.
Yeah, love DC.
Well, very good, Paul Thurrott. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for a great episode. I'm sorry for falling asleep a few times.
That's okay.
What can I say?
I don't take it personally.
Please don't. I'm just doing the best I can with the limited resources I have available.
I wish I could say you were the only person who's ever fallen asleep while I was talking, but
I did not
Alas.
fall asleep. I did not fall asleep. I just fell off my ball. That's all.
That's somehow worse, but thank you for that.
Paul, have a great week. You will be back next week. No more time off. All right.
Right.
The party continues right here every Friday with Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is available at the Super Site for Windows, winsupersite.com, and he's, of course, the news editor for Windows IT Pro, the author of a book that should emerge any moment now, Windows Vista
I don't know.
Secrets.
I'm still getting emails about edits. This thing may never ship.
Well, it'll ship just in time for Service Pack 2. How about
That's what I'm thinking.
or Windows 7. Why not? Do you think there will be a Service Pack 2 before Windows 7 comes out?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, I do.
There's a little tidbit for you, folks. Read into it what you will. Oh, yeah, he says that now. Not that I know anything, but yes.
I'm kind of an Apple guy. I don't know if you noticed.
Yes. Thank you, Paul. We'll talk to you real soon on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.